Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live, and this game that was supposed to start at 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time started very late because of the rain. Then it was a reduced game, 9 overs per side. Then it was further reduced to 7 overs per side. It's very tough to summarize this game. Let's have a look at the summary first, and then I'll tell you the shortest tragic story you've ever heard. South Africa, World Cup, and the Duckworth-Lewis system. Look at that. The target was reduced to 64 after Zimbabwe put on the board 79 runs at the end of their 9 overs. And South Africa, well, were very much on course. 3 overs, 51 runs. Quinton de Kock came out with a mission, but it just defies sense. With me, Mr. Zaheer Khan, Joy Bhattacharjya. Let's see if they can make sense of this. I can't wrap my head around this, Zach, because, I mean, the DLS power score for them at the end of 5 overs, for the loss of 1 wicket, I'll just read it out. Deepu has sent it to us. For the loss of 1 wicket would have been 43. For the loss of 2 wicket, 44. 3 wicket, 44. 4 wicket, 44. 5 wickets, 44. 6 wickets, 45. 7 wickets, 46. 8 wickets, 48. 9 wickets, 53. So they would have had to lose 9 wickets for them to lose this game, and yet we don't have a result in this game. What's going on?
So close yet so far. And the value of 2 points, isn't it? That has been the story, but you have to give the credit to the umpires. Both the captains, they tried their best to make sure that the game happens and there is a result in the game, but the weather gods had some other plans. Yeah. So close yet so far. South Africa's story continues with the World Cup. Yeah. 2 points on the board would have been the ideal start, isn't it? Now they have to figure out all the combinations, because this 1 point advantage, I think, is going to go straight to Pakistan. They definitely have that chance, isn't it now? Provided they beat South Africa. So that game is going to become very, very crucial now. Irrespective of what India, South Africa happens, I think, you would assume that way. India still have to beat South Africa, but South Africa will be feeling right now a bit disappointed. Because you kind of plan the World Cup that way. Okay, Zimbabwe you'll beat, the other teams also you'll beat. Bangladesh you should be able to beat, and then India and Pakistan are the 2 big games. Mm-hmm. Now suddenly all the coaching staff and everyone will be figuring out, okay, what are the possibilities now to see that this point doesn't affect them in the tournament and the next phase. Yeah. South Africa also
have the right to feel hard done by, because, as I said, their DLS, they scored 51 in 3 overs. The DLS power score at the end of 5 overs, they'd done that. It was 44 for the loss of no wickets, 53 for the loss of 9 wickets. So they should feel hard done by. I mean, I know they're the laws of the game, but you've got to have some sort of sense. I really feel for South Africa.
No, absolutely. From March 22nd, 1992, that is the fine they were first denied. 22 in 14 balls, and after that it became 22 of 1 ball. And I think in those days there was no Duckworth-Lewis. I think after that, as a result of that match, that they started calculating Duckworth-Lewis and all these things that came into it later. So that was a terrible result for them. And see, that's the point, that, these are things like that early in the tournament. That we all know the story of 1999, that run out, the tied match, everything that's happened in their history. So they just will feel, oh no, not again. Then 2003, Sean Pollock not reading this thing, Duckworth-Lewis right again. He had the Duckworth-Lewis in his pocket and they didn't read it right. So they and the World Cup is an old story. And every time they say, okay, now we're going to put these ghosts to rest, one ghost comes up again.
A new chapter. Please turn the page over, write a new chapter.
I tell you.
It's been that kind of a story, because they came out and to chase, and Quinton de Kock was right on the money. I mean, right from the word go. He hit 24 runs in the first, 23 or 24 runs in the first over, set the tone, then got a few more. Then by the end of it, they went out. They came back in after another rain delay. 64 was the target, but they've got to feel really, really bad. And this just changes everything. And it's really bad on their part, because now you've got to start the World Cup on a very bad note. As you said, Zach, now you would have planned, we'll beat Zimbabwe, we'll beat Netherlands, we'll beat Bangladesh. Now the other 2 teams we'll have to take care of. Now those plannings change. Now everything, the executions change. It's a mess.
Well, it's a bit of a setback. I wouldn't say that it's too early in the tournament to predict that far, but it can affect you psychologically. Looking at the history of South African cricket and what has happened with the World Cup like tournaments. So that is something which they have to deal with. So here comes the job of the support staff. Then Mark Boucher will have to really sit down the captain and make sure that the core group of the team, they don't have this setback taken too far in their heads. So you got to just shake things up a little bit and make sure that everyone is focusing on the right things and not thinking about what could have gone their way. So I think that's the basic simple approach. You got to look at the positives. I think Quinton de Kock was the biggest positive from today's game. You could see that he just needed one more over, maybe a few more deliveries to score those 13 runs, which was required of the target at that stage. So bowling was superb. You've seen Rabada and good nick, Nokia, Wayne Parnell. So those are the positives you got to focus on. You kickstart the tournament in a good way, cricketing wise. These are the things which are not in your control. These are things you will never have any control over. So you got to leave them behind and focus on playing good cricket, and that's something which will get you out of this. So you have to remain on track. That's the most important thing, and not get dejected by what has happened today.
That's so crucial, Joy, because Zach is so right. I mean, they played very good cricket for whatever cricket there was for the entire duration of this game. They played really good cricket, and that's what the focus should be on.
Absolutely, and they're a really good side. I mean, players like Risa Hendricks, Klaasen, Marco Jansen not making this side just tells you a little bit about the quality of the kind of players they've got on the pitch. So they're a terrific team. See, the only problem that's become is, if you look at it, if you say you have three strong teams, then of course these are assumptions that we make. That is India, Pakistan and South Africa. Yeah. Now, if each was to win one each among these in round robin, so if India has beaten Pakistan, maybe we lose to South Africa, South Africa loses to Pakistan, under normal circumstances it would have come down to run rate. But now, because of this situation, South Africa will go out. Yeah. So that's a big thing. And the one thing it will happen, almost surely as a result of this, is run rate will no longer play a factor in this group. Because the odd point happens now. So when the odd point happens, the chances of teams ending up on exactly the same points are very low unless we have another rain-hit game.
Correct.
And therefore, run rate will go out of the equation. It will be more, they just have to beat everybody from now on.
Yeah, and hope that some other results go their way. But that's that for South Africa. They share points with Zimbabwe in this game. Not much to ponder over there because there wasn't much cricket. But there's more cricket coming our way. Australia versus Sri Lanka. Yes, that's the game coming up. And Australia coming off a heavy defeat against New Zealand. Sri Lanka coming off that win against Ireland. So you'd say now this game is in Perth. They're playing at home. And yet Australia would start to perhaps put those question marks, because Mitchell Marsh has said we'll play with the same 11. We don't have any doubts. But when you suffer that heavy a defeat, the question marks have to start rising, no?
Yes, they would want to bounce back. The good news is they're playing in Perth. Now Perth as a venue for the subcontinent team especially has been a tricky one. So that's something which they should take confidence from, which might work in their favor. Even though Sri Lanka has won against Ireland and they've looked good, their performance was very clinical. I think still you would think that Australia has a chance of coming back in the tournament, and they need to do it as soon as possible. So you got to get back to the drawing board. You got to figure out what is required. Do that change if need be. I think four seamers is something which has worked in this tournament so far. From whatever the overhead conditions are, you've seen the combinations, and teams are preferring to have four bowling options. So is that something which Australia will think about? The Cameron Green factor, will it come into play, because he's more of a say 140 click bowler. Yeah. That's something which they can think of to add that extra pace and create more troubles for Sri Lankan batters. You've seen Maxwell has not been used by the captain. Yeah. So the sixth bowling option in spin has not been of that much of a help. So is Mitchell Marsh going to contribute with the ball along with Stoinis? These are the tactical things they will be thinking about, or whether there is a need of bringing in a bowler who can really crank it up, which is Cameron Green, which means someone will have to make way for him. So who is that individual going to be? Those are the things I think. Those are the things they will be discussing in that camp. Sri Lanka, I think, will be relying on Tikshana and Vanindo Hasaranga.
Yeah.
You would expect Australian team to be on top at home conditions, looking at their strength against the fast bowlers. I think the mystery factor and the Vanindo Hasaranga factor, if that comes into play, then Sri Lanka is in with a good chance.
Yeah. And we saw that spin wasn't completely out of the game even in that England-Afghanistan game, but this group is a tricky one. It's trickier than the group with India, Pakistan and South Africa, because you've got really good teams there. You see, New Zealand have registered a win, Sri Lanka registered a win, England have registered a win, and now Australia have to register a win to draw level with them of sorts, and that is going to be very tricky because they will have played an extra game as well, which means this one becomes really important, as Zach said, for Australia.
It becomes very important also for a run rate's sake, because the lashing that they got, that they chased down that many overs, minus 4.45 is a huge thing to make up in 4-5 matches. And we'll know, because in the IPL, to make that up in 13-14 matches is difficult. To make that up in 4-5 matches is very, very difficult. And one of the things, of course, that you're looking at is, I think they made a statement to Australia saying that we're not going to change things at all. We believe we have what team we need to do. The second interesting statement is Mitch Marsh saying he's going to bowl. I mean, that's also a very clear statement. I'm going to bowl. Remember, Perth is his home ground as well. It's Mitch Marsh's home ground. It's Stoinis' home ground. They're used to playing in those conditions. And it traditionally does suit fast bowlers. I mean, they'll fancy their chances against here. What they look for is not just a win. They look for an emphatic win to bring their campaign back on track. Because this group, you lose 2 matches, you're not going to make the semis. It's all very difficult.
Yeah.
Because then you'll need a lot of other combinations to go your way. You can afford to drop 1 match, they need to win the rest, and they have got big matches against England also left after this. So it's not going to be easy. So they need an emphatic win to change things around here.
Yeah, and they're playing England right after this. But Sri Lanka saying, don't count us out. We spoiled a lot of parties at the Asia Cup, Zach, and this time around as well, they have injury concerns, but I think Pathum Nissanka should be back, so he will slot himself up the order. But even if he doesn't, in that playing 11 last game also, Dhananjaya De Silva gave them a great start, albeit against Ireland. But they have the firepower, even in the bowling, because they're playing in Perth. They have bowlers like Lahiru Kumara who can really crank up the pace.
Yes, they do have the bowlers, but the deciding factor for them is going to be whether their batters are going to be up for the challenge or not. Yeah. So if you put runs on board, if you get to that 160 mark, then you are always in the game. Then your spinners will also come in play, and you've seen with Australia, when you have a lot of firepower, a lot of power hitters, at times the mystery factor of spinners can be tricky. So I think the real deciding factor for Sri Lanka is going to be that your batters have to step up to the challenge of Perth, the extra bounce of Perth, how you're adapting to that, how you're adjusting to that. So those things will matter a lot. And once you have runs on board, then your bowlers also come to the party. You have that belief, and then those things change the things for you. So that is something which we'll have to wait and see whether that happens tomorrow or no.
All right. So who are your smart picks then? One from Sri Lanka, one from Australia.
I think Vanindo Hasaranga for sure from Sri Lanka's side, and from Australia's side, I would say Warner. You need, if Australia is batting first, then you need to set that tone and you need to be aggressive. If you get the start, then your power hitters also come into play because the bowlers are already on defense. So from Australia's point of view, you need to have that situation, and that platform needs to be created. When you're looking to bounce back, that's the most important thing. So if you're bowling first, you need to get those early wickets to set the tone. If you're batting first, then it has to be Warner who sets the tone for the game.
This promises to be a cracker of a contest. We hope there's no rain in Perth. There's usually not a lot of rain in Perth, and we'd hope that it stays the same. Something that stayed the same is my inability to crack the joy factor question. But has anyone cracked it? But for that, we need to look at the joy factor question first. Joy?
It's one I just was reading up on one of my favourite cricketers whose second test wicket was of a fellow coach in an IPL franchise in 2015. It's Muthaiya Muralidharan, and of course his fellow coach was Tom Moody. In the first innings, he got Craig McDermott out in his first innings. In the second innings, and Tom Moody, and this ball, Tom Moody still remembers, it was about 2 feet outside the off stump, and he let it go, and then it took off his off stump. In the first time, they really saw how much Muralidharan could turn the ball. Mm-hmm. And from then on, that Australian team had always looked with suspicion. Who is this bowler who can turn it square? But it's a great story. I mean, Muralidharan's this career is one for the legends.
Oh, that is why we asked for a hint. So you've played with Muttiah Muralidharan. Have you played with Dom Moody as well? No.
Not really.
No, you haven't.
Not with Tom, but
Murli, of course. Yeah, with Murli, of course. Let's see who's got it right. The Joy Factor question for the day. Who is the winner? Who answered it first? Suryansh Setia. I've seen this name before. He's also a Joy Factor regular. Many, many congratulations, Suryansh. And also a happy Diwali to Suryansh, to all of you as well, to the two of you as well, gentlemen. Now that we've gotten off, we'll go celebrate Diwali. You also go celebrate Diwali.
can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. Absolutely. Can't wait to go celebrate Diwali. Be safe. Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you so much, Joy, for joining in. Thank you to all of you as well. See you all super soon.